I'm standing in the pre-dawn darkness of downtown Columbus, registration packet trembling in my hands like some nervous teenager. The irony isn't lost on me. 3 days ago, I closed a 7-figure deal with a smile that could cut glass. Now I'm terrified of a 26.2-mile run. You look like you're about to bolt. The voice comes from my left. I turn to find a woman with sun-weathered hands adjusting my race number with practiced efficiency. Her brunette hair is pulled back in a no-nonsense ponytail, and those green eyes hold a directness that catches me off guard. That obvious? I manage. The death grip on your packet gave it away. She steps back, examining her work. First marathon? Is it that obvious too? Experience. She extends a calloused hand. Lila. Ava. Her grip is firm, confident. What gave me away this time? You're wearing brand new everything. She gestures at my pristine running gear. Rookie mistake. The starting horn echoes through downtown streets, and suddenly we're moving. Thousands of feet pounding pavement in unison. I settle into what I hope passes for a sustainable pace, hyper-aware that Lila has somehow ended up running beside me. Mile 3 brings the first wave of regret. You're fighting it, she says without apparent effort. Fighting what? I gasp. The run. Stop thinking so damn much. Easy for her to say. My phone buzzes with notifications about tomorrow's board meeting. The acquisition talks with Henderson Tech. Market projections that need reviewing. What do you do? I ask, desperate for distraction. Train horses. Seriously? Dead serious. She glances over. You. I build software. Even saying it feels surreal out here. Different kinds of breaking in, I guess. By mile 15, my legs feel like concrete. But Lila's steady presence beside me has become an anchor. She doesn't push conversation, doesn't offer empty encouragement, just runs. You know, she says as we hit mile 20, most stallions fight the bit their first time too. Are you comparing me to a horse? If the horseshoe fits. Despite everything, I laugh. Actually laugh, at mile 20 of my first marathon. The finish line appears like a mirage. My vision tunnels, but Lila's voice cuts through the haze. Come on, city girl, you've got this. Those final steps take forever. Cross the line together, medals draped around our necks by volunteers whose faces blur into exhaustion-induced impressionism. Coffee? Lila asks, like we haven't just completed the hardest thing I've ever done. I nod, not trusting my voice. The cafe she chooses is nothing fancy. Worn wooden tables, mismatched chairs, the kind of place that probably hasn't changed its menu since the 80s. But their coffee is strong enough to raise the dead, and suddenly 3 hours have passed without me checking my phone once. So you actually train horses, I say, still wrapping my head around it. 3rd generation. My grandmother started the ranch back in '62. And you never wanted to do anything else? Did you always want to build software? I consider this. I wanted to build something that mattered. Turns out code was just the language I spoke best. Same thing, different medium. She leans back. Horses don't lie. They don't have hidden agendas or quarterly projections. What you see is what you get. Sounds refreshing. It is. She studies me over her coffee cup. You should come out sometime, see what honest work looks like. The invitation hangs between us, loaded with possibilities I'm not ready to examine. The invitation haunts me for 3 days. Every time I try to focus on Henderson's acquisition proposal, I see those green eyes challenging me to step outside my comfort zone. Finally, Thursday afternoon finds me driving 40 minutes northeast of Columbus, following directions to Hernandez Ranch. The property stretches across rolling hills like something from a movie. White fencing divides emerald pastures where horses graze with casual elegance. The main house sits modest but well-maintained, wraparound porch promising evening conversations under star-filled skies. Lila emerges from the barn, work boots and faded jeans replacing her marathon gear. Somehow she looks more herself here. You came, she says, genuine surprise in her voice. I said I would. City people say lots of things. She leads me toward the paddock, where a massive chestnut stallion paces restlessly. Even from 20 feet away, I can sense his agitation. That's Thunder, Lila says, former racehorse. Somebody tried to break his spirit instead of earning his trust. I watch as she approaches the fence. The horse's ears prick forward, his entire demeanor shifting. Not submission, but recognition. How do you do that? Patience, consistency, never promising more than you can deliver. She glances at me sideways. Sounds familiar? The afternoon passes in a blur of horse names, feeding schedules, and stories about stubborn animals with personalities bigger than most people I know. Lila moves through her tasks with quiet competence, and I find myself studying the way her hands gentle a nervous mare, the patience in her voice as she works with a limping gelding. You're staring, she says without looking up from examining a hoof. Sorry. It's just different from my world. How so? In tech, everything moves fast. Iterate, pivot, disrupt. But this? I gesture around us. This requires time. Everything worthwhile does. Evening finds us on her porch, cold beers and comfortable silence stretching between us. The sunset paints her pastures in shades of gold I never notice in the city. Tell me about your horses, I say. What do you want to know? How did you know this was what you wanted? She considers this, bottle halfway to her lips. I was 8. My grandmother put me on this ancient mare named Duchess. Meanest horse you'd ever meet, but something about her reminded me of myself. She smiles at the memory. Took 6 months before she'd let me near her without trying to bite. Another year before she trusted me to ride. And then? Then I realized that earning something is different from taking it. Thunder comes close to the fence, drawn by our voices. In the fading light, his coat looks almost black. He still doesn't trust easily, Lila continues. But watch this. She walks to the fence, extends her hand palm up. The stallion approaches cautiously, finally allowing her to stroke his neck. Trust can't be demanded, she murmurs, and something in her tone makes me think we're not just talking about horses anymore. What about people? I ask. Same rules apply. Her eyes meet mine in the gathering darkness, especially people who've been hurt before. The admission hangs between us, loaded with meaning I'm not sure I'm ready to unpack. My phone buzzes with another email about tomorrow's presentation, but for once, I don't reach for it. Lila? Yeah? Thank you. For today. For showing me this. You sound surprised that you enjoyed it. I am. A little. She laughs, the sound carrying across her pastures like a promise. City girl, I think you might be full of surprises yourself. Driving home through country darkness, I catch myself planning my next visit before I've even reached the highway. Saturday arrives like a gift. No board meetings, no client calls, just open highway stretching toward Hernandez Ranch. I tell myself it's curiosity about rural life that has me driving out here again. The lie sits comfortable as worn denim. Lila's waiting by the barn, 2 coffee cups in hand and a knowing smile that suggests she sees right through my casual act. Twice in 1 week, she says, either you're really interested in horses or you're running from something. Maybe both. The coffee is perfect. Strong enough to wake the dead but smooth as silk. We lean against the fence watching Thunder work the far pasture, his movements fluid poetry in morning light. Tell me about your grandmother, I say. Elena Hernandez. 5'0", tough as leather. Lila's face softens. Came here from Mexico with nothing but determination and a way with animals. Built this place from scratch. She sounds incredible. She was. Used to say that land doesn't belong to us, we belong to it. Lila gestures across the rolling hills. Everything here carries her fingerprints. I study the careful maintenance, the way each fence post stands perfectly aligned, gates that swing smooth and silent. You're carrying on her work. Trying to. Some days I wonder if I'm enough. The vulnerability in her admission catches me off guard. Here's this woman who commands respect from 1,000-pound animals, questioning herself like any of us. Want to see the rest? She asks. The tour takes us through the stable, where horses nickering soft greetings seem to know her personally. Each stall tells a story, rescue animals finding second chances, retired racehorses learning to trust again, young colts discovering their own strength under her patient guidance. This is Luna, she says, stopping at a paint mare with intelligent brown eyes. Came to us 3 months ago. Previous owner used harsh bits, heavy hands. I watch Luna approach, cautiously, finally allowing Lila to stroke her neck. She's beautiful. She's learning to be. Lila's hand moves in gentle circles. Trust isn't about forgetting the past, it's about believing the future can be different. Something in her tone makes me study her profile, the set of her shoulders. Speaking from experience? We all have our stories. The afternoon dissolves into easy conversation about everything and nothing. She shows me how to properly approach horses, the importance of body language, reading their moods through ear position and tail movement. Her hands cover mine as she demonstrates the right pressure for grooming, and my pulse quickens at the contact. You're a natural, she says, stepping back too quickly. Beginner's luck. No such thing with horses. They read people like open books. Evening finds us back on the porch, dinner plates pushed aside and wine replacing afternoon coffee. The spring air carries the scent of apple blossoms and new grass, a perfume I never knew I missed until now. Can I ask you something? Lila says. Shoot. What are you really running from? The question hits deeper than expected. I stare into my wine, watching the liquid catch porch light. Expectations, maybe? My partner Marcus keeps pushing this Silicon Valley expansion. Says it's the natural next step. I pause. But every time I think about leaving Columbus, something holds me back. What kind of something? I gesture vaguely. This, maybe. Realizing there's more to life than quarterly reports and market disruption? You sound like someone trying to convince herself. She's right, and we both know it. The silence stretches comfortable between us, filled with cricket songs and the distant sound of horses settling for the night. I should go, I say finally, though every cell in my body argues against it. Should, she agrees. But neither of us moves. Lila? Yeah? Thank you for letting me see all this. Thank you for being interested enough to look. The drive home feels longer this time, as if I'm leaving something important behind. My first riding lesson becomes a masterclass in humility. Luna's gentle nature can't compensate for my complete lack of coordination. Within minutes, I'm clinging to the saddle horn like a life preserver. Relax, Lila calls from the center of the ring. She can feel your tension. Easy for you to say. You're not 8 feet off the ground. 3 feet, drama queen. Luna stops abruptly, apparently deciding I need a moment to collect myself. I slide sideways, grabbing mane and saddle in equal measure before tumbling into the soft dirt with zero grace. Lila's laugh echoes across the paddock. City girl meets gravity. Shut up, I groan, spitting dust. She extends a hand to help me up, her calloused palm warm against mine. Better? Bruised ego, intact spine. I'll live. Good. Because we're going again. The second attempt goes marginally better. By the fourth, I'm actually sitting up straight. By the sixth, Luna and I reach some sort of truce that involves her pretending I know what I'm doing while I pretend not to be terrified. See? Natural? Lila says, as I dismount with something resembling dignity. Natural disaster, maybe. Evening brings cooler air and the promise of storms building on the horizon. We settle on the porch with cold beers and easy conversation about everything except the growing tension between us. Tell me about your first heartbreak, I say, wine making me bold. Lila's bottle pauses halfway to her lips. That's quite a question. Is it off limits? Nothing's off limits. She considers this. Her name was Sarah. Met her in college. Thought she understood what this life meant. What happened? She wanted me to sell the ranch, move to the city with her. Said horses were a phase I'd outgrow. Lila's voice carries old hurt. Turned out I was the phase. Thunder rumbles overhead. Nature providing soundtrack to her confession. I'm sorry. Don't be. Taught me something important about compatibility. The first raindrops hit as we're cleaning up dinner plates. What starts as gentle pattering quickly becomes a torrent, driving us inside with surprising speed. Damn, Lila mutters, watching water sheet across her windows. The lights flicker once, twice, then die completely. Emergency candles appear with practiced efficiency, casting dancing shadows across cabin walls. Happens a lot out here, she explains, lighting another taper. I settle on her couch, hyper-aware of the intimate space candlelight creates. Lila sits closer than strictly necessary, close enough that I catch her scent of leather, and something uniquely her. Ava? Yeah? Can I tell you something? Thunder crashes overhead as if punctuating her question. In the flickering light, her face looks uncertain, vulnerable in a way I haven't seen before. Of course. I haven't felt this comfortable with someone in a long time. My heart does something complicated against my ribs. Lila, I know we barely know each other. I know you've got your life in the city and I've got mine here. But there's something... What happens next feels inevitable as storms. Her hand finds mine in the candlelit darkness, fingers intertwining with natural ease. When she leans closer, I don't pull away. The kiss is soft, tentative, question and answer wrapped in gentle pressure. Her lips taste like wine and possibility, and when we break apart, neither of us speaks for a long moment. That okay? She whispers. Instead of answering, I kiss her again, deeper this time, with the kind of hunger that's been building since that first morning at the marathon. Her hands fist in my shirt, pulling me closer until there's no space left between us. The storm rages outside, but inside, everything feels perfectly still. When we finally break apart, my pulse hammers loud enough to compete with thunder. Stay, she says simply. I should leave. Should maintain professional distance, clear boundaries. Should remember that my life exists 40 minutes away in a world of quarterly reports and board meetings. Instead, I stay. Monday morning begins with my phone stealing the show in ways that shouldn't be possible. 3 conference calls drop within 15 minutes, each accompanied by the same peculiar buzzing that seems to radiate from the device itself. Ava, you're breaking up, Marcus says for the 3rd time. Are you driving through a tunnel? I'm in my office. I hold the phone away from my ear as static crackles through the speaker. The Henderson presentation has to be rescheduled. Again. My laptop crashes twice during what should have been a routine email check, blue screening with errors I've never seen before. Even my supposedly reliable desktop starts acting possessed, random programs launching and closing without input. By Tuesday, I'm convinced someone's sabotaging my equipment. By Wednesday, I notice the pattern coincides with my stress levels. The more anxious I get about work, the more electronic devices malfunction around me. This is insane, I mutter, watching my tablet screen flicker like a dying campfire. Thursday finds me back at the ranch, desperate for answers or at least sanity. Lila takes one look at my frazzled expression and wordlessly hands me a beer. Rough week? Technology hates me. Either that, or I'm losing my mind. Want to talk about it? I explain the mounting electronic failures, the way devices seem to rebel against my touch. She listens without judgment, occasionally nodding as if this makes perfect sense. Interesting timing, she says finally. What do you mean? Come see something. She leads me toward the paddock where Thunder paces his usual restless circuit. But as we approach, something remarkable happens. The stallion's ears prick forward, his entire demeanor shifting from agitation to curiosity. He never does that with strangers, Lila murmurs. Thunder approaches the fence, moving with deliberate calm. When I extend my hand, he doesn't just tolerate the contact. He actively seeks it, pressing his massive head against my palm. That's impossible, I breathe. Watch this. Lila leads me to Luna's stall. The paint mare, who typically requires careful approach and patient coaxing, walks directly to me. No hesitation, no fear. Just immediate, inexplicable trust. They're all responding to you differently, Lila observes. Started the day after you first stayed over. We move through the stable and the pattern repeats with every animal. Nervous rescues stand calm, aggressive stallions gentle their approach. Even the barn cats seem drawn to my presence. What's happening to me? I don't know, but maybe it's not about what's happening to you. She pauses by Thunder's stall. Maybe it's about what was always there, just waiting to surface. That night, I research electromagnetic hypersensitivity, bioelectromagnetic fields, anything that might explain my growing sensitivity to electronic devices. The scientific literature is sparse, mostly theoretical, but patterns emerge. stress, environmental changes, emotional upheaval, all potential triggers for dormant sensitivities. People dismiss what they can't measure, Lila says when I share my findings. But this is affecting my work. My entire career depends on technology. And now technology doesn't work around you. Exactly. She considers this, absently stroking Luna's neck. Maybe that's not the problem. Maybe that's the answer. What do you mean? When did you feel most at peace this week? The question catches me off guard. I think about the mounting stress, the failed presentations, the constant electronic malfunctions. Then I remember the moments of clarity, all of them here, surrounded by horses and open sky. Here, I admit, with you. Electronics work fine out here? I pull out my phone, surprised to find it functioning normally. No static, no dropped calls, no mysterious crashes. That's impossible. Is it? Or is it just that you're finally somewhere that makes sense for who you're becoming? The implications hit me like physical force. If my electromagnetic sensitivity is real, if cities and office buildings amplify the problem while rural spaces provide relief, then everything about my carefully constructed life needs reevaluation. I can't just abandon my company. Who said anything about abandoning it? That night, lying in Lila's guest room, I stare at darkness and consider possibilities I never imagined. Remote work, satellite offices, hybrid business models that don't require constant urban immersion. For the first time in weeks, my phone sits silent on the nightstand, functioning perfectly in the electromagnetic quiet of rural Ohio. Friday night brings wine and courage in equal measure. We're sitting on Lila's porch swing, the gentle motion keeping time with cricket songs and distant horse wickers. My electromagnetic sensitivity seems dormant here, allowing blessed normalcy for the first time all week. Tell me about Sarah, I say, surprising myself with the question. Lila's wine glass pauses halfway to her lips. Why? Because I want to understand what went wrong. For her, I mean. You planning to make the same mistakes? The question hangs between us, loaded with implications neither of us quite ready to examine. Maybe I'm planning not to. Lila sets down her glass, studying my face in the porch light. Sarah couldn't handle the isolation. Said she felt like she was competing with the horses for my attention. Were you? Probably. This place demands everything. Early mornings, late nights, emergencies that don't respect weekends or anniversaries. She pauses. She wanted someone who could put her first, always. And you couldn't. Wouldn't. There's a difference. I understand that difference more than she knows. My company demands similar devotion, similar sacrifice of personal time and energy. Do you regret it? Letting her go? No. The way it ended, maybe. The swing creaks gently as we rock, wine making us both more honest than usual. Ava? Yeah? What are we doing here? The question I've been avoiding finally surfaces. What are we doing? Two women from completely different worlds, finding something neither expected. I don't know, I admit, but I don't want to stop doing it. Lila turns to face me, green eyes serious in the gentle light. I need you to understand something. I've been hurt before by someone who thought this life was romantic until reality set in. I'm not Sarah. I know you're not, but you've got a life in Columbus, a successful company, everything I can't compete with. You're not competing with anything. Aren't I? The challenge in her voice makes me set down my own glass. Lila, I need to know this isn't just some escape fantasy for you, some break from corporate stress that'll fade when reality kicks in. Instead of answering with words, I lean forward and kiss her. Soft at first, then deeper as she responds, her hands finding the back of my neck. When we break apart, we're both breathing harder. Does that feel like fantasy to you? I whisper. Her answer comes in the form of another kiss, more urgent this time. Her lips press against mine with weeks of restrained want, and suddenly we're standing, moving toward her front door without breaking contact. Inside, candlelight from earlier still flickers on the mantel, casting dancing shadows across cabin walls. Everything feels dreamlike, suspended between what was and what might be. Ava, she breathes against my ear, her voice rough with desire. My response gets lost as her mouth finds that sensitive spot below my jaw. Her hands map the curve of my waist, fingertips tracing patterns that send electricity through my entire nervous system. We move toward her bedroom in stages, pausing to kiss against door frames, hands exploring through clothing that suddenly feels like unnecessary barriers. When we finally reach her bed, moonlight streams through windows, painting everything silver. What happens next unfolds like a conversation conducted entirely through touch. Gentle questions asked and answered, boundaries explored and respected. She moves over me with careful attention, reading my responses like she reads her horses, patient and intuitive. The connection between us transcends physical pleasure, becoming something deeper, more fundamental. When release finally claims us both, it feels like coming home to a place I never knew existed. Afterward, we lie tangled together, my head on her shoulder, listening to her heartbeat steady beneath my ear. Stay the weekend, she murmurs into my hair. I should check on work stuff. Should, she agrees, but her arm tightens around me. Neither of us moves. Monday morning brings reality crashing back with the subtlety of a freight train. Marcus storms into my office at 8 sharp, tablet in hand and fire in his eyes. Henderson's pulling out, he announces without preamble. What? They're going with data core instead. Said our presentation was unprofessional, too many technical difficulties. He slams the tablet on my desk. Ava, what the hell is going on with you? The question hits like a physical blow. Henderson represented 18 months of development, $3 million in projected revenue. Everything we've worked toward disappearing because I can't control whatever's happening to me. It's been a rough couple weeks. Rough? You've missed 3 conference calls, rescheduled 4 presentations, and apparently can't keep your phone working long enough to answer emails. Marcus paces my office like a caged animal. This isn't rough. This is career suicide. I can fix this. How? By magically becoming reliable again? He stops pacing, studying my face. Where have you been anyway? Every time I try to reach you after 6, you're unreachable. The question feels loaded with suspicion. Marcus and I built this company together, but that doesn't give him ownership of my personal time. I've been exploring some work-life balance. Work-life balance? He laughs, but there's no humor in it. Ava, we're on the verge of something huge here. Silicon Valley's interested. Real money, real expansion. And you're talking about balance? This is the conversation I've been dreading. The one where dreams collide with reality, where choices demand consequences. Marcus, what if we didn't need Silicon Valley? What if we could build something sustainable right here? Sustainable? He stares at me like I've grown a second head. This is tech, not organic farming. You scale or you die. Says who? Says everyone who's ever succeeded in this industry. The argument builds from there. 2 years of partnership tensions finally erupting. Marcus wants aggressive expansion, venture capital, the startup dream of explosive growth and eventual buyout. I find myself defending ideas I didn't know I had. Remote work capabilities, sustainable business models, technology that serves communities instead of consuming them. You're different, he says finally. Maybe. This is about someone, isn't it? You're seeing someone. The accusation hangs between us. I could deny it, deflect attention back to business matters. Instead, I find myself choosing honesty. Yes. Damn it, Ava. He runs hands through his hair. Please tell me it's not some anti-tech activist or organic hippie. She trains horses. The silence stretches uncomfortable. Marcus stares at me like I've announced plans to join a cult. Horses? He repeats. Her name's Lila. She runs a ranch outside the city. A ranch. His voice goes flat. So this is what? Your quarter-life crisis? Suddenly you want to play cowgirl? It's not like that. Then what is it like? Because from where I'm standing, my business partner has lost her mind over some country girl with a barn. The dismissive way he says it ignites something protective in my chest. Don't talk about her like that. Or what? You'll ride off into the sunset together? We stare at each other across years of friendship and shared ambition. Everything we've built hanging in the balance of this moment. The Silicon Valley opportunity won't wait, Marcus says finally. TechCorp wants a decision by Friday. This is our shot, Ava. Maybe our only shot. That evening, I drive to the ranch with Marcus's ultimatum echoing in my head. Move to California. Abandon everything growing between Lila and me, or watch my company fragment. You look like hell, Lila observes when I stumble from my car. Feel like it too. She doesn't push for details, just leads me to the porch where beer and understanding wait. I explain about Henderson, about Marcus's anger, about Silicon Valley's ticking clock. So you have to choose, she says when I finish. That's what everyone keeps telling me. What does your gut say? That I'm terrified of making the wrong choice. Lila sets down her beer, studying the sunset painting her pastures gold. You know what I learned from my grandmother? What? Fear makes terrible decisions, but love, real love, that makes brave ones. Her words settle between us like a challenge. What am I afraid of? Failure? Success? Or the possibility that everything I thought I wanted pales next to what I've found here? Lila? Yeah? I need some time to think. How much time? I don't know. She nods like she expected this, but something shudders behind her eyes. Take all the time you need. The distance in her voice tells me everything. She's preparing to lose me because everyone else always chooses the other option. This time, I might prove her wrong. 3 days of soul-searching in my Columbus apartment yield nothing but migraines and electronic chaos. My laptop crashes every 20 minutes, my phone drops calls mid-sentence, and even my coffee maker starts acting possessed. The electromagnetic sensitivity that seemed manageable at the ranch becomes unbearable in the city. By Wednesday, I'm desperate enough to drive back to Hernandez Ranch without calling first. The 40-minute journey feels like traveling between worlds, urban chaos gradually giving way to rolling hills and breathing room. Lila's truck isn't in the driveway. I find her in the far pasture, working with a young colt who clearly doesn't trust human contact. She sees me coming but doesn't stop what she's doing, moving with patient determination as the horse circles nervously. He's beautiful, I call out. Rescue from a bad situation, she replies without looking over. Takes time to undo damage. The parallel isn't lost on me. I climb the fence, settling on the top rail to watch her work. 20 minutes pass before the colt allows brief contact, another 10 before he accepts her presence without flinching. Progress, she murmurs, finally approaching where I sit. How do you know when to push and when to wait? Experience. Intuition. Mostly you learn to read what they're telling you. She climbs up beside me, close enough that our shoulders touch. Below us the colt grazes with cautious contentment. My electronics work fine out here, I say. And in the city? Complete disaster. I can't function professionally anymore. Lila nods like this makes perfect sense. So what are you going to do about it? That's why I'm here. I need to understand what's happening to me. Or maybe you need to understand what's always been true, and you're just now ready to see it. Over the next few hours, we test my electromagnetic sensitivity systematically. Near the barn's electrical panel, my phone immediately starts malfunctioning. By the time we reach the far pastures, everything works normally. The pattern is undeniable. The more isolated from electrical infrastructure, the more stable my devices become. It's not just about distance, Lila observes. It's about density. City environments pack too much electromagnetic noise for your system to handle. But I've lived there for years without problems. Maybe the stress finally triggered something that was always latent. Or maybe you needed to be here to recognize what you were missing. That evening, we research adaptive technologies, rural internet solutions, remote work infrastructure. For every problem my condition creates, solutions exist. Harder solutions than staying in a comfortable urban bubble, but possible ones. Marcus won't understand, I say, scrolling through satellite internet options. Marcus doesn't have to live in your body. He's been my partner for 2 years. We built the company together. And now you're growing in different directions. The truth in her words settles heavy between us. Marcus wants expansion, acquisition, the traditional tech startup trajectory. I find myself wanting sustainability, community impact, work that enhances life instead of consuming it. Lila? Yeah? If I stayed, If I figured out how to run my business from here, would that change things between us? She considers this carefully, studying my face in the gathering dusk. Are you asking because of me or because of you? Both. That's honest, at least. She takes my hand, intertwining our fingers with natural ease. I need you to know something. I'm not asking you to choose me over your career. I'm asking you to choose yourself over everyone else's expectations. Same thing, isn't it? No. Choosing me means you could resent me later when reality sets in. Choosing yourself means you own your decisions. That night, lying together in her bed, I finally understand what she means. Her hands move over me with familiar tenderness, mapping territories we've claimed together. When our lovemaking reaches that breathless crescendo, it feels like arriving somewhere I was always meant to be. The electromagnetic quiet of rural nights wraps around us like a blessing, my oversensitive system finally finding peace. Afterward, as we lie tangled together listening to night sounds through open windows, I make the call to Marcus. I'm staying in Ohio, I tell him. We can restructure as remote partners, or you can buy out my shares. The silence stretches long enough that I wonder if the call dropped. You're serious, he says finally. Dead serious. This is about the horsewoman. This is about me. About what I need to be healthy and productive. We discuss logistics without emotion. 2 years of partnership reduced to contract terms and asset division. It hurts less than I expected. Maybe because I'm finally choosing something that feels authentic. Ava? Lila murmurs when I end the call. Yeah? How do you feel? I consider the question honestly, scared, excited, uncertain about practical details, but absolutely certain about the core choice. Free. Marcus buys out my shares for less than market value, but enough to fund my transition. The paperwork takes 3 weeks to finalize. 3 weeks of living between worlds while electromagnetic sensitivity forces me to conduct all business from Lila's ranch. Feels strange, doesn't it? She says, watching me sign the final documents on her kitchen table. Liberating strange or terrifying strange? Both. She's right. Freedom always carries the weight of uncertainty, the burden of owning your choices completely. Within a month, I've established a home office in Lila's converted barn loft. Satellite internet, backup power systems, everything I need to run a consulting business that serves clients remotely. The electromagnetic quiet of rural Ohio allows my sensitivity to stabilize, devices functioning normally in this low-interference environment. Ava Richardson Consulting has a nice ring, Lila says, reading the business cards that arrived this morning. Think it'll work? You're brilliant with technology, and now you understand how it can serve rural communities. There's a market for that. She's right again. My first client is a veterinary practice wanting to streamline digital records. The second, a regional farm cooperative needing e-commerce solutions. Work that matters, solving real problems for real people. 3 months in, we're sharing morning coffee when Lila brings up the conversation I've been avoiding. So what are we, exactly? The question deserves honesty. I don't know. I've never done this before. This being? Choosing someone over convenience. Rebuilding my entire life around a relationship. Is that what you did? I consider her question while watching thunder work the far pasture. The stallion who once paced with nervous energy now moves with confident grace, finally trusting his environment. I chose myself, I say finally. But choosing myself included choosing you. Good answer. 6 months later, we're hosting our first joint client meeting. A corporate retreat center wants to combine equine therapy with digital detox programs. Lila handles the horse psychology. I manage the technology integration. We present as equal partners, complementary expertise creating something neither could achieve alone. This could be big, the client says after our presentation. It could be. More importantly, it feels right. That evening we celebrate with wine and the kind of kiss that started this whole adventure. Deeper now, seasoned with certainty instead of question. Her lips taste like promise kept, like choices honored. I love you, I whisper against her mouth. I love you too. Simple words carrying the weight of transformation. 6 months ago, I was drowning in urban ambition and electronic chaos. Now I'm building something sustainable with a woman who sees past my metropolitan polish to whatever's authentic underneath. Ava? Yeah? No regrets? I look around Lila's kitchen, at the business cards scattered across her table, at the woman whose courage gave me permission to reimagine everything. Just one. What's that? That it took me so long to figure out what I actually wanted. A year later, Richardson Hernandez Consulting occupies a converted stable building, serving technology needs for rural businesses across 3 states. Our equine therapy integration program books months in advance, helping stressed executives find balance through connection with horses and digital quietude. Lila and I wake each morning to pastures painted with seasonal changes, electronics functioning perfectly in electromagnetic peace, horses whose trust we've earned through patience and consistency. Think we'll make it? She asks one morning, watching sunrise paint her grandmother's land gold. We already have. The marathon that brought us together feels like a different lifetime. 2 women running parallel paths until they chose to run together, discovering that some distances can only be covered with a partner who understands the pace required for lasting endurance. Thunder approaches the fence, morning light catching the confidence in his movement. No longer the nervous stallion afraid of human contact, but an animal who knows his worth and chooses his connections carefully. Recognizes, I suppose.